Hello, everyone. There are moments when you don't feel completely broken, but you don't feel ready to move either. You are not trying anymore. Not because you've given up, but because something inside you has become quiet in a way that feels unfamiliar. You sit there, not thinking too much, not trying to solve anything, just holding yourself in a way that feels small but real. Your knees are close to you, your hands resting gently, and your thoughts are not rushing the way they used to. They are slower now, softer, not gone but not overwhelming either. And in that quiet, something feels different. You are not pushing yourself forward. You are not telling yourself what to do next. You are just staying where you are. And for once, that does not feel like failure. It feels like something else, something that is hard to name. Because for so long, you believed that movement was the only sign that things were getting better. That doing something, fixing something, changing something was the only way forward. But right now, you are not doing any of that. And still, something inside you is not completely lost. You notice your breathing. Slow, steady, almost unnoticed, but still there. You notice the way your body feels. Tired, but not collapsing. Still holding, even in a small way. And that makes you pause, not in a forced way, but naturally. Because maybe this moment, this quiet moment, is not empty after all. Maybe it is something you have been avoiding without realizing it. A moment where nothing needs to happen. A moment where you don't have to prove anything. A moment where you don't have to be better than you were before. You just have to be here. And that feels unfamiliar. Because being still, without trying to move forward, has always felt like falling behind. But now it does not feel that way. Now it feels like something is gently holding you in place, not trapping you, not stopping you, but allowing you to stay without pressure. And in that space, something begins to settle. Not a solution, not a plan, but a quiet sense that maybe this moment is not something to escape from. That quiet moment stays longer than you expect. At first, you might feel unsure about it. You might wonder if you are doing nothing, if you are wasting time, if staying here means you are falling behind again. But the longer you remain in this space, the more something begins to change. Not outside, but inside. You begin to notice that the absence of pressure is not emptiness. It is space. A kind of space that you rarely allow yourself to have. Because most of the time you are trying. Trying to improve. Trying to move. Trying to become something more than you are right now. And while that effort has its place, it also creates a constant sense of tension. A quiet feeling that you always need to be doing something, fixing something, moving forward in some way. But here, in this moment, that tension is not as strong. You are not chasing anything. You are not measuring yourself against anything. You are simply existing without expectation. And that changes the way you experience everything. You begin to notice small things that you might have ignored before. The way your thoughts come and go without needing to be followed. The way your breathing continues without effort. The way your body holds itself even when you are tired. None of these things feel important on their own. But together, they create something else. A quiet stability. Not something you built intentionally, but something that was already there, waiting for you to slow down enough to feel it. You begin to understand something that you may not have considered before. Not all movement is visible. Not all progress looks like action. Sometimes the most important shifts happen when nothing seems to be happening at all, because this is where things settle. This is where everything that has been moving, pushing, and struggling begins to find a different kind of balance. And that balance does not come from effort. It comes from allowing yourself to stay, allowing yourself to feel what is there without immediately trying to change it, allowing things to be incomplete without needing to fix them right away. At first, this feels unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable, because you are not used to staying in one place without trying to move out of it. But slowly, something begins to feel more natural. You are no longer resisting the moment. And because of that, the moment does not feel as heavy. It does not feel like something you need to escape. It feels like something you can stay with, even if just for a little while longer. And maybe that is what you needed. Not another push, not another attempt to move forward too quickly, but a moment where everything can slow down enough for you to reconnect with yourself. You stay there just a little longer, not because you are forcing yourself to, but because it no longer feels like something you need to leave immediately. The quiet is still there. The stillness remains. But now it feels different from before. It does not feel like something empty. It feels like something that holds you gently, without asking anything in return. And in that space, something begins to return. Not suddenly, not in a way that demands attention, but quietly. A small sense of readiness, not to do everything, not to fix everything, but just enough to move, even slightly. You notice it in a simple way. A thought that feels lighter than the others. A small idea that does not feel overwhelming. A quiet feeling that maybe you can take one step again. Not because you have to, but because it feels possible. And that changes something. Because before, movement felt like pressure. It felt like something you needed to force. But now it feels different. It feels like something that can come naturally without being pushed. You don't rush it. You don't turn it into a plan. You don't ask where it will lead. You just notice that it is there. And for now, that is enough. Because maybe starting again does not always begin with a decision. Maybe it begins with a feeling. A quiet shift that happens when you give yourself enough space to rest without pressure. And when that space exists, something else becomes possible. Not because you tried harder, but because you stopped trying for a moment. You take a breath slowly without thinking about what comes next. And in that breath, something feels slightly different. Not a big change, not a clear direction, but a small sense that you are not stuck anymore. That something inside you has not disappeared. It has just been quiet, waiting, and now it is beginning to return, in its own way, in its own time. You do not need to rush it. You do not need to turn it into something bigger than it is. You only need to notice that it exists, because sometimes that is where everything begins again. Not in a moment of strength, not in a moment of clarity, but in a quiet space where something slowly comes back to you. And if you can stay with that, even briefly, then you are already moving, even if it does not look like it yet. See you in the next story.